Chapter 6. Factors affecting performance on reinforcement schedules. Test your knowledge of schedules of reinforcement. Here, each row shows a different pair of schedules of reinforcement. For each pair, identify which schedule, A or B, will produce the higher rate of reinforcement. Pause the video here if you would like more time to answer. In a moment, arrows will point to the richer schedule, the one that should produce the higher reinforcement rate. Did you get them all? Now, imagine A and B provide reinforcement on the same schedule. Let's say they are that fixed interval 1-minute schedule, but something is different about the reinforcers that are delivered. Now, for each pair, try to guess which schedule, A or B, produces the higher rate of reinforcement. As before, each row is a different example. The rows are not related to each other. Pause the video here if you would like more time to answer. In a moment, arrows will point to the richer schedule. How did you do this time? As Mazur wrote, some of the factors that affect reinforcement are fairly straightforward. In general, rich schedules generate higher response rates than lean schedules. For example, if you like sugar pellets, 5 sugar pellets is better than 1. It's a larger reinforcer, and larger reinforcers, or more reinforcement per reinforcer delivery, generates higher response rates than smaller reinforcers, or less reinforcement per reinforcer delivery. Similarly, immediate reinforcers generate higher response rates than delayed reinforcers. Certain reinforcers generate higher response rates than uncertain or probabilistic reinforcers, or more certain reinforcers generate higher response rates than less certain reinforcers. And just like I can do more bicep curls with 5-pound dumbbells than I can with 15-pound dumbbells, reinforcers that are easy to obtain generate higher response rates than reinforcers that are difficult to obtain. Reinforcement history is another important factor that can affect responding. The way an individual responds on one reinforcement schedule depends on what they have experienced before. For example, in a 1964 paper published in the Journal of the Experimental Analysis of Behavior, Harold Wiener described the results of a human operant experiment with 2 conditions. 3 participants started on a fixed ratio 40 schedule. On a fixed ratio schedule, higher response rates earn more points. So those participants learned to respond at high rates, like 300 responses per minute high. 3 other participants started on a differential reinforcement of low rates schedule. Those participants only earned points if it had been at least 20 seconds since the previous response, so they learned to respond at low rates, as in 7 responses per minute. Next, all 6 participants were switched to a fixed interval 10-second schedule. Even after many sessions, each participant's reinforcement history continued to affect their performance. The fixed ratio group continued responding quickly, and the differential reinforcement of low rate group continued to respond slowly. Behavioral momentum is the degree to which behavior is resistant to change in the contingencies of reinforcement. Well-established habits are often hard to break, much like heavy objects can be hard to move. This isn't always a bad thing. For example, an exercise regimen that is resistant to change might persist through a pandemic. If someone's study habits are resistant to change, maybe they're less likely to fall behind if the school calendar is interrupted. Many of the factors that affect responding in the moment also influence behavioral momentum, which in turn can impact responding in the future. Understanding behavioral momentum can help people maintain good habits and break free from bad ones. Your behavior can be shaped by natural contingencies, that is, it can be reinforced or punished by the outcomes that it produces, in much the same way as the behavior of a rat or pigeon is shaped by contingencies in an operant conditioning chamber, or a puppy learning to fetch is shaped by the treats it receives. Unlike most rats and pigeons, but like many puppies, much of your behavior is rule governed in addition to being contingency shaped. That is, verbal, written, symbolic, or imagined instructions interact with natural contingencies. Both affect your behavior. To recap, many current and former characteristics of reinforcers, responses, and environmental contexts affect performance on reinforcement schedules.